So affordable food and housing is becoming increasingly difficult here in America. And with these bandits that are out and about planting random food in places that you're not supposed to have it is something that I am against. And so if you could help me plant, or sorry, not plant, to unplant, stop these crop placing people from putting stuff in places where there's guidelines and regulations says you just can't have crops there. And so if there was just like food everywhere, I don't know, apples, oranges, all these kind of things in places that it didn't belong, then like oranges would just be all over the street and you wouldn't have to spend, then you wouldn't be able to buy it at the store. And then there's also things like affordable housing, which is becoming more and more difficult. So what we want to do is stop these bandits that are out there. They're placing these sheds, and these sheds are basically like, they're super cheap because they're just for like holding equipment, but then renovating it also is very cheap. And then apparently those don't meet standards, like certain wind speeds and whatever the hell other regulations. But from the perspective inside, it's like basically just a really comfortable place. People are also doing silly, dangerous things like, adding electrical and plumbing to it, because these are things that are pretty simple to do and you don't really need to have, licensing for it. And so because people are doing this, I am here to basically patrol locations, making sure that people don't have these kind of things available. You don't want like McDonald's employees and random people making minimum wage to be able to afford to have their own place. They need to have roommates. They need to have random strangers that they live with, so that way if they were to ever try and start a family, that would just be insane to even consider. You want to make sure that we follow these American rules and guidelines. And so I'm here to make sure that when they tax us on our labor and our income, because the dirt that we stand on is also taxed, so that way when we put up a home on it and we forget to pay the taxes and they sell the home, that we do things appropriately. And so we want to make sure that we're working hard so they can tax that, and we live hard so they can tax the dirt. So when we spend it on something, they can tax that, because we need to make sure we keep supporting the supporting of our allies overseas. The Ukrainians that we are unaware of, never really interact. We care about the Ukrainians and Israel, whatever, and all of these people across seas that need our help. We want to make sure that we keep up with the whole debt thing, because if you haven't figured this out yet, we have a lot of debt going on in America, and we push that back. And so we want to make sure that we can just keep following these rules, because what are we to do if there's just food everywhere? People in New York, thinking to yourself, if there was ever an emergency, they could definitely rely on the government, like people during Hurricane Katrina, right? Because other governments will fund a wall that can handle up to 1,000, the strongest storm in 1,000 years, and it'll handle that. But ours was a little harder to do. It was 1 in 100 years, because we're only good at sending metal that we had from the 60s into space and doing random stuff, and making metal and destroying machines. And we want to make sure that when people in Hawaii, for instance, have their homes burned down, and we just don't have enough money because only $5.5 billion in damages. Apparently we've only been able to give them like $330 million. Part of it is a loan, and a lot of it covers overhead. So who knows how much money actually made it to the people. We'll never really find out if they'll be taken care of or not. But we know that the government's looking out for them while we send about $100 billion over there to kill people. I think this year alone, something like $95 billion has been taken to basically make machines and weapons and stuff to just kill other people like us. So we want to make sure we keep doing that. And when people are out here just having to take care of themselves, it's really hard to, let's just stop the bullshit, dude. Like, come on, guys. If it's not, just give this to everyone. You have to do it manually. To rely on any sort of algorithm or to think that you're unimportant is to completely miss the point, right? Like, we gotta do this right. And I'll help you guys by starting the. And by the way, for my agents that are watching this, hi, and keep on monitoring me. And when you guys are ready to do the Voldemort technique, I'll be here waiting. Or will I? Come get some.